Welcome to RPG Book Club. On today's episode, we spend over half the episode not even talking about Xenogears. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Michael Spiffel-Webbin, who is not leading off, always goes last.
Yeah, I always just kind of assume that everybody else is going to go before me.
Yeah, because last time you went first, and then this time Spiffel usually goes first. So it's been like 10 weeks before since RPG Book Club Classic. So
yeah.
But
RPG Book Club Classic. It's like a little box. It costs $60. It's got 30 RPGs built in.
It's just got 30 episodes.
It's an iPod with 30 preloaded episodes.
Yeah, they're emulated versions.
Yeah.
You don't get the original cartridges.
Yeah,
Emulated,
okay, we have
downloaded
save
off the
states.
internet.
Yeah. You can actually rewind at any time.
Yeah,
And
If you fuck up at
it.
listening.
yeah.
Which I do frequently.
That's true.
Me too. As probably as a parent to the people that are listening, they probably hear coughs that I miss, e-cigs that I miss, mic bumps that I miss because I'm really bad at listening to. But today we'll be playing chapters 25 through 33 of Xenogears, from Secret Weapon through the Orphanage, plus a little tiny bit into the next chapter, and where we stop when Billy joins the party. You'll find out who Billy is here in a little bit. But before we get started, how was everyone's week?
Mine was okay. Aside from not being productive whatsoever, I came home on Monday. Was not feeling well, went to bed immediately. It was like 6 p.m. It took me almost an hour to get home because of the horrible traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I went to bed immediately and woke up at 7 a.m. the next day. So nothing got done. I had to play a long
rest. Rest is important.
Speaking of ACL, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? That's why it was so goddamn busy.
Traffic,
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, nothing against ACL. I am a music boy. I enjoy the music. I just don't enjoy the traffic.
And I don't enjoy people in my town. Like, as a person who only moved to Austin 5 or so years ago, I don't have the right to say I don't want people in my town, but I don't want people in my town.
Well, I've been here for 10 years, so I have twice as much right as you to say that I don't want people in my town.
Yeah, that's the whole meme of Austin, though, is that people who've been here for 6 months hate it when people move to Austin.
Yep. Bay Area is the same way.
Yeah, my week was pretty great. So
good for you.
It was actually a gigantic disappointment. I don't know why I said pretty great. I mean, I got a new fancy toy, but the new fancy toy doesn't work in any way that I want it to. But it lets me play the good version of Persona. So, like, in the end, it's okay. So I got me a PlayStation TV. And the reason that I wanted one was so that I could remote play my PS4 up in my bedroom. So, like, if we were hanging out up there, like if it was before bed, or that's where Summer has her computer. So if she wanted to play The Sims while I was playing Persona 5 or something, we would do it. And I looked up, like, reviews of how it worked, and everyone's like, oh, it's pretty laggy, so you can't play anything action. And I'm like, good thing Persona is a turn-based game, so it won't matter at all. Like, it won't be ideal, but it'll still work, and that'll be fine. So I found one for $30, and everything was great. My friend was like, hey, like, I'll send you stuff if you want to jailbreak it. And I'm like, all right, maybe, but I don't think I really will need to, because I'm trying to just do something that it comes out of the box. But I'll let you know. So I plug it up, and it says that my Wi-Fi is not good enough. So I plug it into Ethernet, and it still says it's not good enough. I actually got it to pop up once, so I was like, oh, all I have to do is, like, get a long cable to, like, stretch from my computer to the, like, my room is right next to my office. So I could just get a long cord, plug it in, and it'll be fine. Except I only got that to work once. I couldn't get it to work repeatedly. And so I'm like, all right, well, that just doesn't work. And I was like really depressed and like upset about it. And connecting to remote play used the internet, which means it updated past where you could jailbreak it. So I don't even have the option to do that. So it also only comes with 1 gig of onboard storage, and it has proprietary as fuck memory cards that cost like $200 for 60 gigs. And so like it is pretty much useless for me, except 1 gig of storage is plenty of space for a save file for Persona 4. So if I paid a grand total of $45 for Persona 4 Golden, that works a lot for me. So it'll be okay in the end.
Honestly,
but as of right
that
now,
is still money well spent. Persona 4 Golden is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
At least didn't buy a whole Vita for it like I did.
Yeah. The Vita, I hear, works better with remote play than the PSTV, whose design was to remote play.
The Vita actually works very well with it, yeah. I haven't done much with it, but for like you were saying, any like JRPG, any turn-based game where reflexes don't really matter, it's great.
Yeah. But
my week was interesting. My birthday was yesterday.
Woo woo! Yay!
So
I sent you a happy birthday message on Facebook. Also, you are a child. Holy crap!
I'm sorry,
you
Sam. You have one more thing to say about your PlayStation Vita or PlayStation TV. Well, what was it?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah. So it was all in all, it was a huge disappointment, but getting new stuff is always nice.
Yes.
Aside from the birthday, pretty lousy week. Worst birthday of my 27 years, that's for sure. Not that it was terrible or depressing, but you know, like it was my first
proximity.
birthday. It was my first single birthday since 2012, which is weird. Yeah. Even my relatively short-lived relationships always happen to be in the fall, so that's weird. But yeah, it's like
the
oh boy,
fall is the summer of love.
Exactly. This for me. But yeah, so it's like cool. It's my birthday, and all I did was sleep in, go to work, and the whole day I was thinking, if I go my whole birthday without seeing one goddamn person besides coworkers, that's going to be depressing as hell. So I texted a couple of my friends, and we're like, who's up, who's available tonight? Now I didn't get back home from my commute till like 8:30 p.m., so it's a little late. All my friends are weird old people who go to bed at like 10. Even the ones that are my age or younger than me are weirdos who go to bed at like 10. So I texted around, and you know, one friend was like, oh, I'm out of town. Another friend was like, oh, a political thing happened that I have to deal with, like a sort of last minute emergency situation. But my second favorite, next to my ex, second favorite person in the whole bay, a wonderful, wonderful human being, was available. So I had a beer with her, and that was great. And that was my birthday. Yeah, aside from that, boring week. Except I played a lot of Xenogears, and it's nice. So let's kick it.
Yeah.
So remember from last time.
Before we did continue, I made the joke that the fall is the summer of love, and then I thought back and remembered that summer was my very first Valentine, and I dated extensively through high school and college, but all of them were in the fall and would always break up with me before Valentine's Day.
That's good. Save you some money.
Yeah, I mean, true. But it just occurred to me, I was like, maybe fall is the summer of love.
One nice thing for me, same thing for me, my first big relationship where, you know, when she broke up with me, it was like totally heartbreaking and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was in like mid-January. And then, no. It was like very end of January, almost February, because it was in proximity to Bernard's birthday party. Mm-hmm. And, which is on February 4th. Anyway, she ended up wanting to get back with me later. Mm-hmm. But that was in like March. So it was like, just skipped over that little window. It was great. I didn't get back with her. I decided it wasn't a good relationship. But if I had, it would have been like, oh, awesome. We broke up just in time for me to not have to spend money on Valentine's Day. So anyway, Goliath Dungeon. So last time we did all this shenanigans in Kislev, and then we escaped, and then we're like, how are we going to get out of this place? Even though we're extremely strong and can murder everyone, the only way for us to get out of, like, I don't know, a military checkpoint is to steal their super, super top secret giant warship and fly over it. That's the only way.
Yeah, that's it.
So we go through this Goliath dungeon. It's a gear-sized dungeon. I love it. It's this giant fucking hangar. Even your gears seem small going down these like a large natural cave is one thing, but like a man-made hallway that is that size, I always think is cool because it's like this place was made by people, but it is not made for people.
Yeah.
I went through a large portion of it as a person because it's fun.
Yeah, and there's no enemies until there are.
Yeah, there's no enemies for a long time. It's really neat. Just hear the music. You talk to the shop robot, and turns out it's Hammer.
Yeah. So,
good old Hammer.
What's your headcanon? Has he been all of these robots the entire time, or did he just find this one robot in the hangar and was like, "Well, you're gear size, so I have to be big too." I
think he just found a fucking robot.
I mean, that's the one that makes sense, but my headcanon is that he's been all of it the whole time.
It was you all along?
Hammer, you are the robot.
Yes, it's you. So what Eli just said was not a reference to Homestuck, but I made it into one.
Okay.
Anyway, so there's not much to say about this dungeon. It's a really good dungeon. It's got that shit where you got like conveyor belts, and there's one part where there's some light platforming where you go on a conveyor belt and you end up crossing a high up conveyor belt through a room that you were in way earlier. I say platforming because if theoretically you were to jump off of that conveyor belt, you would have been back in the earlier area and had to replay like 10 minutes of dungeon, but you don't have to touch the controller at that time. You just sit there.
Don't do anything.
You literally just sit there while the conveyor belt moves you across the screen. So if you just don't touch the controller, you're fine. But if you do, you can fuck up yourself. Anyway, I thought it was a really enjoyable dungeon. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I really liked it. I don't like the fact that literally no one talks to each other. No one comments on anything. They just like go in complete silence until you get to the Goliath and you escape. Like there's not even like a oh, I wonder if it's here. Oh wow, look, I didn't realize that Kislev had this power, or like anything at all. It is just
especially weird for this game because this game they sure
everyone
like
talks
to talk
so much.
Oh my gosh!
I'm surprised we didn't stop for camp 3 times in this dungeon just so we could talk some more.
We need to talk about our feelings about everything.
See, I didn't even notice that because to me it's just nice. I'm like, yeah, let me play the fucking dungeon.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Like, we don't have to stop 18 times for cutscenes. This is fine.
All I'm wanting is like one at the beginning, maybe one when like because like the monsters suddenly start showing up, and I think somebody's just like, oh hey, there's monsters now, is like all you get. But like if there was
because it was weird that there were no enemies at first. You should have had someone be like, weird, there's no enemies, and then later they're like, oh, there's enemies.
Yeah. And so, like, one at the beginning, one right there, and then one when you finish is all I'm asking for. I'm not an advocate of the 3-night dungeon, but I just wish there was something because, like, I sat there ready to like play and take screenshots, and the first screenshot I get is about 10 minutes after you finish this dungeon because that was like the first thing that happened.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like I feel like in this game, I feel like it sort of feels like it's a filler dungeon. But the thing about this game is, it doesn't have not filler dungeons. Everything in the game is either 2 hours of cutscenes or a filler dungeon.
Yeah.
The dungeons have less to do with the plot than anything else that happens in the game. Like when the plot happens, it's like cutscene, boss battle, cutscene, boss battle, cutscene, boss battle. But then when a dungeon happens, it's like, no plot is happening now. You get a couple more of those later, but I don't know. I actually like it. It's like a musical, in a lot of musicals, even though a musical is all about singing, when they're singing, no plot is happening. Like,
no. They're just talking about their feelings.
You establish a plot point, and then you embellish it with song.
And then you sing it.
Establish the character is sad. Then the song's just about them being sad. Unless you're Stephen Sondheim, in which case you are A, the only person making good musicals, and B, you do actually have plot developments happening in the middle of songs.
Yeah.
There are plenty of good musicals.
There are 5. I always joke that I'm a musical hater. I always joke that musicals is the only art form with a lower ratio of good of good stuff to bad stuff than video games.
Wow. I grew up with an appreciation for musical theater because of my parents, so...
I
musical
love musicals
theater.
because they
I
rock.
enjoy almost any musical, but I don't think most of them are good.
Oh, okay.
For example, anything by Gilbert and Sullivan. Anything.
Well, okay. I mean, I might agree with that.
Even ignoring the racism, even ignoring the fact that it's all racist, and then anything by Sound of Music guy. Who wrote Sound of
The
Music?
name has escaped me as well.
Well, anyway, he's really famous. He wrote a shit ton of stuff. Anything by him. It's all bad, folks. The only good musical is Legally Blonde the musical. Hot take.
Wow.
That's the fact. It's the only good musical. No, I'm joking about that. But it is really good though.
My hot take is all the good musicals are made by Disney except for Sweeney Todd.
I think most Disney musicals are Disney movies. I think Disney movies are average musicals. They are good movies, but they are average musicals. Well, okay.
That's why I said it was a hot take. Like,
that is a hot take. Yeah.
I don't partake in musical theater very much, and the ones that make it to movies of musicals usually are way pared down and not even the
Well,
same
if you like
thing
Sweeney
anymore.
Todd, you should watch all of the musicals by Stephen Sondheim because
Rogers and Hammerstein, by the way.
That's the one.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I disagree, but go on.
Anyway, we can have a very special episode later where we talk about musicals and fucking play
Kingdom Hearts 2? Just kidding.
No, and play Rhapsody.
Oh dear God, no.
Rhapsody, the musical RPG for the PlayStation 1.
I have never heard of it.
I've never heard of that one. I was thinking Eternal Sonata.
No, it's literally a JRPG with musical numbers, like a musical where the characters start singing.
Oh, that's dope. We
Apparently,
definitely
it's
need to
not
play
that good, but the idea is awesome, and I want to fucking play it. I bet the problem is that it has the same number of songs as a typical musical, except a typical musical is 2.5 hours long, and this is a 20-hour-long JRPG, so it's there's not as much singing as you'd like because they go hours between songs.
Yeah. But it sounds like a perfect game for us to play when we start digging deep into the archives next year.
Totally goddamn play that game. Okay, anyway. So you get to the Goliath. It's like, oh man, we finally got our airship. That's weird.
They fucking play me. So you walk up and you see it, and the music changes to the obvious airship track that we'll eventually get 20 hours from now or whatever.
Yeah, you called it. This is the actual airship song from 20 hours later in the game.
I could tell it was. I could tell this was the joke. And so you get into the Goliath, and everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know how to fly it. Satan, can you figure it out?" And he's like, maybe. Did you just plan on stealing this fucking airship without knowing how to fucking fly? And Faye's like, ... Can you fly it? So it's like, I mean, yeah.
Just answer the question.
It's like, I mean, yeah, but I'm trying to teach you a lesson here. I'm not going to out of principle.
Yeah, and so Saitan takes off, and there's the of course, every time you're stealing an airship at a JRPG, it's like, oh no, is it going to fly? Is it going to work? Blah 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 blah. But then you of course are hearing the airship music, and you take off, and you see this glorious 3D panorama shot, helicopter shot around you flying in this airship, and it's super awesome. And then Graf shows up and blows it up. So
that didn't last very long at all.
Funny as shit. And also in reference to it even references. I don't know if this is literally reference, but it even emulates on accident maybe the Final Fantasy VII of all fucking games, because Final Fantasy VII is the only game I can think of right now. Maybe. No, 8 doesn't do this. 9 doesn't do this. Final Fantasy VII, the airship theme is not an original song, but is an arrangement of the game's main theme. Mm-hmm. And that's how this game is too. The airship theme is a airship sounding variation on the game's on the game's main theme. So you think you get your airship, and I'm thinking to myself...
And another thing it steals from Final Fantasy VII is when you think you're getting your airship, you're actually getting your boat.
Yep. And these games mostly... the games coincided a lot in development, so I'm thinking either it's a coincidence, or they were they were collaborating, or they were looking at each other's work before the game actually came out.
No, like the board member said, it's got to have a motorcycle at the beginning, and you have to have an airship that's actually a boat. That's the writing prompt for Final Fantasy VII.
Well, in FF7, it's not even a boat. It's like a shitty boat where you can only go in certain places with. Remember, you can only go in the shallows. It's not even like a real boat. But Which
doesn't make sense. If it can float in shadows, it can float in deep water.
So anyway, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm thinking wow, game, you can't just go from nothing to airship. You have to have a boat first. That's weird. And turns out my intuition was correct. So what happens is you're flying your airship and you're all excited about it, and then just randomly Graf shows up, and he's like, sup, and you fight on top of the airship, and it's actually not a forced loss. He really hits you really fucking hard. And I was thinking, you have to lose this fight, but no, you actually win this fight. And after you win, Saitan does like a maneuver, he's like, I'm going to do a barrel roll or whatever.
So he actually does a thing. I think it's this one where, so you and Rico and Ellie go out there, and it's not a forced loss for everyone because he refuses to hit Ellie for some reason, and she comments on it. It's like, why didn't he attack me? And so like, you won't die because Ellie won't die, but he deals a shit ton of damage, and Faye and Rico went down in like a turn. But so it's...
See, for me, none of them went down, so I didn't notice that.
Yeah, mine didn't go down, but I was using a guide, and it said specifically, this fight is not worth worrying about because it's going to be a loss anyway. So...
Yeah.
But so Saitan, like, makes the plane go... He doesn't literally do a roll, but he, like, moves the plane all sideways, and he's like, hold on, guys, and you all hold on, and then Graf just, like, shakes off the plane. But then I think so. He will shake off the plane too. But then it's fine.
And so Hammer is like, but Faye and Rico were up there, and they like were knocked out. So like they probably fell off too. How could they have held on? Everything is going to be bad. And then Rico and Faye walk up behind him and are just like, "Oh, Hammer, you fool," or whatever.
You utter moron.
We're not that stupid.
Yep. So then there's a part where the bad guy did not shoot down your airplane. Good, we're still flying. We've still got an airship. So then they're in the bridge, and Faye is talking with Saitan, and Saitan's like, "Is it over? Are we really okay?" And he's like, ... I still have a bad feeling, like we're being watched. And Saitan's like, "Yeah, I've got a weird sense of deja vu." And sure enough, just like when they were in the desert, and it randomly cuts away to a first-person view of someone looking through a scope and being like, "There they are. We're gonna
shit,
get
it's Kislev. We gotta shoot them down."
Oh shit, it's Kislev, So it's literally a mirror of earlier when Bart the pirate first made his appearance by attacking these gears. Except now it's Bart. Bart's not dead. Yay! Our Bart's not dead. He's surely alive. That's for all you Bible belters out there. God, I hate that song.
He also, like, Saitan is like, it's okay, we're not being watched because we're out in the middle of the fucking ocean and nobody really has a navy in this world, so everything will be okay. And then you see a submarine and you're just like, oh shit, it's Bart. Also, he's a submarine now, so that's how he got away from all of the things. But also, he's going to fucking shoot us down.
Yep. So Bart is like, oh shit, it's that giant battleship from Kislev. We should shoot it because that's clearly not our friends. So fire...
Why would our friends have a secret governmental airship from Kislev?
Fire the Bart missiles. And he gets really excited about these fucking Bart missiles. And then the way it works is, it literally cuts to Saitan, and he's like, there aren't any... We're in the middle of the ocean, so there's no navy around here. Also, this thing won't go down easy. And I wrote a Ron Howard voice. It did. So literally, not only were there units around here, but it goes down extremely easily. It just like, they just shoot them, and the Bart missiles are really good, and they get fucked up. And That's the power of the Monado. I mean, Bart missile. But Bart, being a fucking idiot, the Goliath crashes, except the Goliath crashes into the Yggdrasil.
At first, I thought this was going to be literally Final Fantasy VII. I thought they were going to get like stuck together, and you were going to have the airship on top of your sub to be your boat until you separate them and fix the airship.
Oh my god, yeah. So that's it. Then it cuts away. The bad guys who are elsewhere. In this case, the bad guys are Ramses and Miang.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up the collision and they say some shit I didn't get. They were like, they're like, oh, there's a big explosion off in the middle of the fucking ocean. Could it be a gatekeeper? Could it be Shivat's Athel Aura? And I'm like, what's that? And then
no one says.
Yeah, and then Graf shows up because he's just always showing up, and he's like, hey guys, Faye's on that ship. And Ramses is like, everyone drop what you're doing right now. We're going after Faye. And then, I don't know, he runs off, and then Graf talks to Miang alone, and she's being real sneaky. They say a lot of words that I don't understand. And she says that Ramses, Faye is Ramses' entire reason for existence. And he's clearly obsessed with Faye, but she implies that there's more going on than just he just has to get that Faye. So Ramses has something. He's got some issues. But then also, like, I don't know. Again, they allude to Miang's sneaky plan, but they allude to it vaguely enough that it's not even worth repeating. We'll just find out what it is when we fucking find out what it is.
It's one of those things that's like, oh, look, this was foreshadowing. It was really obvious, but didn't make any sense, so you can forget about it, and it'll be okay.
I know they have something going on, but there's no way you could parse out what the fuck it is. So everyone's going after Faye, everyone in the whole world, basically, and even the Minia, who we cut to, is also going after them. So everyone's just like, shit, my Fadar is going off. Time to get that boy. So now the big brain am winning again.
You stole my joke!
Oh, I actually thought you were, well, I said the big brain, and I thought you were going to cut in, but then you didn't cut in.
No, I missed it. Sorry.
That's okay. Here, you know what? Here, Sam, you can do your magics. Here, do your joke, Eli.
The big brain am winning again!
You realize I'm leaving it exactly like this in the edit, though, right?
Yeah, I was trying to cue Eli to say the joke without giving away the joke, and I failed at it, so I'm sorry.
I fucked it up, too. That's fine.
Anyway, so the big brain am winning again. We're at the brain ball, and they're mad because Ramses' job is just to dig up relics, not to run chasing after a young boy across the world. So yeah, it turns out everyone is going to get Faye. Even Krellian, who's a character who has not been mentioned until this point in the story, is on his way to get Faye, apparently. So then the big brain talks about a bunch of weird shit. What do they all even say? They're like, let's take a look. Oh yeah, they're like, we can get the Anima relics anytime. We got to go get Faye, and Ramses is after him. And then they say a person's name who we can't repeat on this podcast.
Yeah. It's spelled Knigret. We're not saying that word.
Nope.
Yep. I think so. So that's just one of the big brains' name is that, I guess.
We finally learn all of their names, but they're all just helmetless Darth Vader of different colors, and that's fine.
So then they talk about how there's actually, they're talking about Faye, but they're not saying his name. They talk about how there's actually multiple people around Faye who contain the quote animus factor, which I'm guessing that's saying everyone in your party member has magical powers and is a chosen one, basically. And later you're all going to combine your animus powers to become, like, Sailor Scouts or whatever.
It's a JRPG. That's how it works.
Yeah. So then he's like, is it Sufradi, the subject of the M project? And and then the other guy just goes, yes. And I'm like, cool, I'm glad that y'all agree that it's Sufradi, the subject of the M project.
It's good that we've cleared that up.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, this is just the same as 500 years ago, which I think it's interesting because we've heard shit about 13 years ago. I think we've heard a little bit of shit about 100 years ago. I think this is the first time we've heard anything about 500 years ago.
No, 500 years ago was, they mentioned that in Nissan, I remember.
Okay.
Because when this happened, I was like, ooh, it's just like that other time. It's probably Faye is a timeless beast of multiple 500 years.
And then someone's like, that does not rule out the possibility that he planned it this way intentionally. And I'm like, who planned it this way intentionally? Faye, somebody else, who knows? It is just, it's a lot of good stuff. It turns out that the place we're in now is called Aquavie, because that's what you call a water area. Literally, we were in Desert World before, and now we're in Water World.
Yeah.
Basically, this is the second arc. This is the second season of the anime, and you just replaced all the sand with water, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. Literally, you're in the same boat.
Yep. Oh, and now we're talking about how Krelian, this new character we haven't mentioned, Krelian is going to Aquavie, and they've found it. For over 4,000 years, he searched for Zeboam's legacy. So now we got 4,000 years, and Krelian, I guess, is 4,000 years old, and he's been searching for a thing called Zeboam, which is in Waterworld, apparently. And yeah. Actually, most of his stuff will become clear literally next week, so that's not too bad. Turns out there's molecular engineering and nanotechnology. The capital of Zeboam is basically Atlantis, and they have crazy-ass technology, and the Ethos kept it secret for 19 years. So all the bad guys, including Krelian, are now after this 4,000-year-old ancient Atlantean technology. And then he goes, 19 years ago, that coincides with the time the Earth shifted. Okay, so that's happening now. 19 years. I thought 13 years ago, but there's also 19 years ago.
This is just the fucking most.
This game has more. I'm gonna call it. This game has more lore than is, let's say, strictly necessary.
Yeah, because like all of this doesn't like. The fact that they mapped out which year, which epic, all of these things took place in doesn't matter. All you could have said had been like, long time ago, some dude did some shit, and now he's back to do it again.
Yep.
And then this does the whole thing.
Then they talk about even more stuff that I'm rewatching it, and it makes so little sense. Like, they just keep saying it and he and they and we. And there's no reference to any of these pronouns are completely without antecedent, to the point where I'm not even going to bother repeating it. It's like, yeah, no, this is just as unimportant the second time around.
Is this what the kids would call extra?
Yes.
It is.
I don't understand how to use extra in the proper context.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's it for Brain Ball.
Yeah. So what they're trying to do here is to have the like for Kingdom Hearts, just because I watched a video on it earlier today, when Ansem shows up at the very beginning in the cloak, like I was talking about how I never saw it for like 7 years of my life, but when he shows up at the beginning, he's just like, yes, this world has been connected, everything is going according to plan, and you're like, who are you, what are you doing? And then they go away, and you're just like, well, that was weird, what's going on? They're doing that, but it takes like 15 minutes, and there's way too many mystery things and foreshadowy things, and it's just like, look, this was cool last time when you showed up and were just like, oh, look, he's awake, oh, I guess he is, and then that was it. Like, that one was cool. This one is just like, I still don't know who you are. One of your names is racist. I really don't want
one of your names is Anonalba.
Yeah.
Which is like when Elphaba goes on 4chan.
Yeah, she's Anonalba. Yeah, it's
back to musicals.
Yeah, so then Kane shows up and he's chatting with the Brain Ball, and someone goes, Kane, we are, quote, gods. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, they're gods. Oh, that's the last line he just says, Kane, we are gods, and then it fades to black, and I'm like, cool. Good time. Yeah, so what happened there was I was rewatching the scene on YouTube because I didn't take notes because it was so fucking, like, what would I even take notes on?
Right? In my screenshots, I literally just screenshot the racist name, and that's all that I have.
Ooh, racism.
I have the important part. I have the part that actually matters to us of what is Ramses doing. He's disobeying orders, which is the only plot point that you're supposed to take from this whole thing. And then the guy's racist name, and everything else is just trying to spoop you into things that happen later.
Yep. So Faye and Ellie
is this what you were talking about when you were like, the game apparently had an editor, you won't be able to tell it later.
Yep. So now we fade, because, there's a big explosion, so once again, we don't know where anyone is. So we fade back up, and Faye and Ellie I said it was some kind of barge, but obviously it's like a chunk of the Goliath, right? So Faye and Ellie are on some, like, chunk of the destroyed Goliath in the middle of the ocean. They're lost at sea, and they're just like, oh no, we're alone.
No.
It's just the two of us. Faye and Ellie. We're all alone. And this barge has a really good rusted metal texture. I really like rusted metal textures. I'm into it. And it's good. And the level design is a little nice too. You can do a little jump. And when you go near the edge, it like tilts a little bit and makes like a creaky like noise. It's good shit. So Faye they just chat and realize they're alone. So Faye was like, shit, let's be sellers. So he decides to go do a sellers from FF6 and catch some fish.
And then decides to do a Bob from Bob's Burgers and get poisoned from the fish that he refused to cook.
So now we cut again to the Yggdrasil. Rico and Saitan and Hammer wake up in one of the Yggdrasil's bedrooms, which we remember from last time we were here. They go to meet Bart, and Saitan explains that Bart shot them down. Lol. Bart's like, yeah, sorry. And Rico's like, huh? I don't get it. And Saitan's like, Rico, let me explain it for you very simply, like a child. The person who shot us down and the person standing in front of you who saved us are one and the same. And Rico's realization dawns on Rico, and he beats the shit out of Bart. Not yet. So first of all, Bart and Rico immediately recognize each other as romantic rivals. You can fucking tell. Bart's like, hi, I'm Faye's best friend. And Rico's like, no, I'm Faye's best friend. And then Bart's like, yeah, we did a really good job shooting you down. It was fucking awesome.
You two are good friends? I thought we could be good friends.
Yeah.
There's more Futurama for you.
I don't get that one, but
you don't
funny.
even. Oh, that was from the episode War is the H Word, where Leela dresses up as a dude to get into the army.
I don't remember that episode.
I remember that episode,
really?
But I don't remember that line. But it makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, Zach Brannigan falls for what he thinks is a guy, and then it turns out to be Leela.
Of course, it's fucking
when
Leela.
She kicks his ass and takes her disguise off. And he goes, "Oh God, I've never been so glad to be beaten up by a woman."
That's pretty funny.
That's good.
It's a great episode.
So anyway, that's it. Just a little bit of plot there. Back to Faye. There's this extremely funny scene where Ellie is sort of in the background. Not background, more like the focus of the scene. She's in the midground. And she's realizing that their gears are trapped at the bottom of they're like trapped underneath the big hunk of metal. She's basically like, it's the way that it's sitting in the water doesn't make sense from a physics standpoint. That's kind of weird. And then she like looks down this hole and she's like, oh, there's our gears. They're very heavy. That's why it's messing everything up. Okay. Meanwhile, in the foreground, you just keep seeing Faye leaping up out of the water like a fucking like leapfrog,
chasing this tiny
trying to catch
fish.
this fish. Like, and you see the fish jumps up in the water and then Faye goes pew and jumps after him. It's really funny.
It's good.
And then he catches the fish, and now he's just in full, like, all of his writing here, you could have taken directly from Goku, from Dragon Ball Z. He's just so excited. He's like, Ellie, look, I got the fish. And she's like, cool. And he's like, let's cook it. And she's like, cool. And then he's literally, like, jumping up and down in the air with excitement because he's a Goku at this point. And she's like, but then she's like, she seems like she's unaware of the concept of like, I don't know, eating a living, like where food comes from. She's like, eat the fish? That's disgusting. He's like, no, it's fine, we'll just cook it. And she's like, are you seriously going to eat that? And I'm like, Ellie, yes, it's just, you cook a fish and you eat it. It's not that hard. Maybe it's a really gross looking fish. We just can't tell because of the graphics.
Well, she's from the first class of the Sky People.
Yeah.
And so
maybe
like,
all they eat up there is Soylent.
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green is lambs.
Yeah, she's like, you don't eat fish, you eat ground up people. But anyway, so they just have a good old time.
Why we call them lambs.
Yep, exactly. So they just have a good old time, and then they look up, and it's that UFO thingy that we saw from 15 hours earlier in the game. Turns out that's Chevette, which has been mentioned like 3 times at this point. Mm-hmm. That's the second floating sky city where maybe Faye's dad is from, or something like that. And they're like, and Ellie's just like, oh, look at Chevette.
One of Faye's many dads.
Exactly. Faye looks at Chevette and says, "Is that my dad? Are you my father?
You mean my dad?
Dude, y'all remember that book, Are You My Mother?
Yes.
That book was depressing. Even as a child, I deeply understood the idea that this bird thinking that a giant crane is his mom is, like, depressing.
Yeah.
And fucked up. I was like, this is wrong. Like industrialization and capitalism has ruined the natural order, said me as a 4-year-old. Clearly this young bird is alienated from himself and from his natural state. Curse you, 19th century England industrialists. I was real smart as a 4-year-old.
You were woke AF.
Woke AF. No, so we cut back to Bart. Nothing much happens here. He's just like, oh, I'm sure Faye and Ellie are okay. I should apologize to Saitan and Rico for, blowing up their cool airship. I really like the character switching here. It's weird. Other games do this. FF6 does this. Lost Odyssey does this. Other RPGs almost like this is like their bread and butter. But this game's been like Faye the whole game. So now just willy nilly, the game's like, you're Bart now. You're Ellie now. You're the people now. It's cool. I like it.
And it continues that for pretty much the rest of this.
Yeah.
Chunk.
It's real nice. Even in the stuff on the hunk of metal, like Faye's there, but you control Ellie.
Yeah.
I think the game is very slowly trying to recontextualize and be like, Ellie is the other main character now. You need to pay attention to Ellie. She's important. Like that's why you're controlling her. She's the main character now. So anyway, Bart apologizes to Saitan. Saitan's like, yeah, this is actually a second Yggdrasil. From a graphics, from a game production standpoint, it's literally the same asset as the old Yggdrasil. Nothing has changed. It's not even a palette swap. It's not a different color, but this is a new one actually.
Yeah.
It has been.
I think he says that it's mostly the old one, but they had another one and they gutted it for parts. So I think it's.
Oh no, it's a different. No, it's a different one.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was just fucking there.
They said they think it was a prototype of the Yggdrasil that they were using before.
And as we all know, in video games and anime, prototype means better.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but then Bart's like, hey, the crest is different. It's not the crest of Ave. I don't really get it. And Saitan's like, oh, that's the crest of Shevat. Maybe they originally helped to make Yggdrasil with their ancient technology. So we got everyone talking about Shevat now.
Speaking of Shevat, I just was looking in my screenshots, and Shevat that flew over does not look like a flying saucer. It literally looks like a Homer Simpson jelly donut.
That is what it looks like.
It's pink and sparkly with some brown on the middle. It's a jelly donut.
I saw that thing, and I was just so shocked to see it that I Shevat my pants.
You're so clever.
I'm good. Then with Bart, Bart apologizes to Saitan. Then you gotta go apologize to Rico. Maybe this part's annoying for some people, but I like this part of the game because they don't tell you where Rico is. But I'm like, he's gonna be in the gear dock next to his gear. That was my very first thought, and I was right.
That was my absolute last thought because I was like, well, I've checked everywhere else, so I guess I'll go and check in the fucking gear.
I thought
I used a guide.
Aren't y'all? Well, la-dee-da.
Yes, it's a text-based guide on game facts.
Most of the time, me not using a guide and using my intuition is a bad idea because my intuition is stupid. But this one time, I was right. So Michael won. Xenogears 100.
Yeah, I'm glad that I started using a guide right after here. Mostly was just to see how much I had left, etc. But I'm glad I started doing it because once we get to the Men of the Sea here in a second, like there's a lot of it that is just like, oh, go and do a thing and that'll be okay. And you just kind of
considering how linear the game is up to this point, it is weird how many parts in a row there's like, you gotta go talk to the one person, no, we won't tell you where they are. Or you just like forget what they told you, right? And no one's gonna repeat it. So anyway, you go to talk to Rico, and Bart's like, Rico, like, holy cow, like, you've really touched up your gear to be, like, amazing. Like, you're really good. Like, you know a lot about gears. You really are the battling champ. Oops, I mean, ex-champ, he says.
Sick burn.
Oh, well, anyway, again, he's like negging him constantly because he's like, I'm better than you. I'm Faye's real boyfriend. Don't think you can. You're on my turf, buddy. You're an ex-champ, okay? I am the fucking Prince of Ave, okay? Get the fuck out, okay? Yeah, so then we cut back to Faye and Ellie again, and they have a really, really nice scene where they talk about their feelings. And it's pretty long, and I'm gonna remind myself what happens in it real fast. They do that dramatic thing where instead of having text boxes, they just have text appearing over the screen. I don't know why games do that, but it's dramatic. It works. I don't know who first thought of
here
that.
They did it because it was like off screen and unrelated, but it then also became the actual words from their mouth when the camera panned down. Usually it'll be like I think it happens with Squall and Renoa when he has to carry her piggyback across the bridge. And so you just see like super far out, you see the bridge and like there are 3 pixels making their way along it. And that one makes sense. It's like, okay, well we're not like able to hear it from here, but we know what's going on. But with Xenogears, it's literally like looking over their shoulder and then the camera comes around to their faces and then it goes to face boxes.
It's just for drama. It's like by putting it as text on the screen, it makes it seem more like it's what's the word? Like the universe is saying these things instead of the characters saying them. I don't know. So anyway, Faye's
I really liked it though. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, it's really good. That's why I'm gonna kind of read most of it word for word, basically. Faye's like, it seems like you've drifted, or Ellie is like, it seems like you've drifted further off. And Faye, a normal human, says, constantly drifting, ... Sounds like me right now. What do you mean? I've just been drifting around, being led by circumstances. Although they spell led wrong, they spell L-L-E-A-D. And I'm like, y'all, past tense, it's L-E-D. And then Ellie goes, no, that's not right. In Ave, you helped Bart when he needed it. And in Kislev, you gave your all to defend, to save everyone. You've even shown concern for me many times. No, I'm just no good. Why? Probably deep inside, I'm not really trying to help. Somehow, I get the feeling that all I did because I wanted to be needed. So now we're getting into the whole,
there's no such thing as a selfless good deed or whatever.
Are you kidding me? I'm supposed to know this shit. I'm supposed to be the one who knows everything. So what's that called? The moral philosophical framework where it's all about your intentions.
I don't know. I
keep thinking distributism, and I'm like, no, Michael, that's Marxism. You gotta shift your brain. From. Right now, all my brain can think of is different kinds of socialism, and I'm like, no. I'm thinking different kinds of morality. Shift, Michael. Anyway, yeah, he goes.
What this is effectively doing is taking Bart's realization that typically happens in the climax, but because this game is like, fuck the climax, we'll do it live. They're just like, well, shit, now we need something to happen in the climax, so we need him to doubt the resolve that he figured out last chunker.
Yep, yeah, because last time he kept having that thing where he's like, doing something is better than doing nothing. But this is kind of a sequel to that. So anyway, he's like, if I did something for them, then maybe I'd have a place to belong. There's a side of me that comforts itself like that. That doesn't mean I don't want to help, but that doesn't mean I really want to help either. Good writing. It might not be nothing, but it sure isn't the whole either. So before he was saying something's better than nothing, but now he's like, no, I want it all, right? Mm-hmm. I'd been drifting, led around until I met you, Ellie. Now we're stranded out in the ocean. I'm sorry, ... I got you involved. It's okay, don't worry about me. I've been thinking why I'm here. I could have just gone back, but for some reason I didn't. Probably because you said it's better to do something than nothing. Remember that time when you were very inspiring to me and now you're just being a sad sack? I feel like this I felt I had to do something. It's okay to not feel whole. Okay, this part actually got me. It's okay to not feel whole, even if you only feel partially complete. If you repeat that enough, eventually it'll be whole, which, I'm sorry, but there's an extremely appropriate Homestuck reference where if I keep pretending that magic is real hard enough, eventually maybe it'll be real. No. If you keep pretending hard enough, eventually it might become slightly less completely fake. A part is better than zero. You're right. I'm sorry. And then the camera fades down and we actually see them. Yeah. And then they talk about some stuff that is a little bit more practical. And there's a flashback to back when Faye was a dumbass and then something like that. And Ellie's like, we all just want to be loved. And then we talk about how Faye ate the fish and he got sick. Yeah. And then Ellie gives him some rations and he's like, these rations suck.
And she's like, yeah, but you're not going to die.
It's intended to be a super sweet scene, but it's really not that sweet of a scene. I guess it's sweet, like sometimes you just had to be there, if I was Faye or Ellie, I would have been very touched by this moment. But as someone who's watching it, I'm just like, eh. I'm not you. I don't have your little in jokes, you weird couple, who has your own little in jokes in your own little world, and I'm not part of it. Anyway, then Ellie's like, I feel like we've had this conversation before, long ago. And I'm like,
dude.
That's not foreshadowing anything.
See, that's just how you do it, Xenogears. Give me more of this and less of Darth Vader in space just throwing nouns at me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nouns and vaguely racist names.
So anyway, that's it for that scene. I thought I'd just read most of it because it's nice. It's not like it's deep or anything, but like these characters are figuring shit out. And as a dumbass who is also figuring shit out, I really appreciate it, even though they don't arrive at any conclusion.
I really liked it, even though the person that watches math YouTube videos in me is like, you can't just keep adding fractions until you get a whole. Like it's not how it works, Ellie.
You can. It depends. It depends. The series
depends
could converge
on what
or it could not converge, depending on the exact on the value of B, I believe.
Yeah. So it depends. It depends on how she was defining her terms. But there's one way where it really doesn't work. But if you're like adding halves every time, you'll eventually get a whole. But it didn't seem to make that sort of sense. If you add halves,
you don't. But yeah. If you add certain, it depends. This, again, you have to find out to do the convergence. This is now a calculus. This is now a calculus podcast.
All right, everybody, get out your pocket protectors. It's time for some math.
Math.
I'm leaving. I quit.
Get off your ass. Let's do some math. That's a good movie. Anyway, we finally get to the fucking Thames or Thames or Thames or however we're going to pronounce it. It's spelled the same way as the river in England, which they pronounce Thames, and I refuse to agree with that because Britain is stupid and they say things stupid.
So they foreshadowed that the Thames is going to be showing up. I'm going with Thames because I also think that Thames is stupid.
Okay, I agree. Let's call it Thames.
But they say when they first do it, they say like, oh, it's over like by the Thames or across the Thames or something like that. I'm like, are we in fucking England out of fucking nowhere?
Yeah. I was really confused about it.
And then it's the name of a ship, so it's okay. But
all right, we're on Earth apparently. But the only thing like real Earth is that the Thames exists.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That makes perfect sense.
So anyway, we get to the Thames, which is the Thames, which is just a giant floating rectangle. It's basically the fucking sand barge from Star Wars. No, not the sand. Well, it's sort of like the sand barge from Episode 4, but it's also kind of like the battle droid, like transport device from Episode 1. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's just a giant rectangle that's in the water.
Yeah. I got it. T-hammies.
T-hammies.
Yes. Anyway, it's a giant rectangle that's in the water, and it's got all these claws coming off of it because this is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 now. And they're always salvaging shit, and the music is fantastic. It's an all-time great Yasunori Mitsuda track. It starts off all hitting hard and funky and like industrial, but then halfway through it takes a switch and becomes like a goofy dumbass song, and then it takes a third switch and becomes like a dramatic song, and that's that Mitsuda sort of shifting around that we love so much. Yeah, everyone here is just a salty sailor. Did y'all find the minigame here?
I did, and
yes.
I really liked it. I hated how it controlled, but I'm like, I want to play this in real life now. Like, it's a...
Well, that is a game in real life. It's literally Speed.
Oh, that's not how I grew up playing Speed. I was like, this is like Speed, but I guess
there
that's...
could be. Well, I haven't played Speed
I didn't have giant cards that I had to run to.
I haven't played Speed in a long time. The rules could be different, but I think the rules are the same as the card game Speed.
They might be... like officially the same, but as is true with every card game, your house rules end up becoming canon at some point. And like so the way your grandma teaches you, because like for like the microcosm of this is, have you ever heard of the game Mao?
No.
Like
okay.
Zedong?
No. But so the game Mao is a game of house rules. Like, that's literally what it is. You start the game and there are no rules whatsoever. Just play your card down, and I think it has like Uno rules is like the basic, where it's like you can play the same number, or you can play the same suit, and you go from there. And but every person who wins gets to add a house rule. And so the games go really fast. And so you play like 10 times in a row and you have to remember the new house rules. So I was like going to somewhere else to like teach them this game, and they had already known it and already had like their house rules that they were going to bring in. And I was going to be bringing in some of the ones that like I had liked for mine. And it was just like this like collision of house rules. And then, so like I've always like remembered that, so that I didn't expect it to happen with Monopoly, where I was sitting. So a canon rule in Monopoly is if your landlord doesn't ask for rent, you don't have to pay it. And I wish that was the real world, but awesome. And so if if you land on an occupied square and the person's not paying attention and the next person rolls, you don't have to pay rent anymore, which seems anti-game, like anti-sportsman, anti-everything that Monopoly wants to do. So I have never played it like that. It doesn't make sense for me to play it like that. And it wasn't until I sat with Mario's family, and Monopoly is one of those games that also gets a bajillion house rules. Like the most common one is if you land on free parking, you get all the money that people have had to give up for like chance cards and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's not real. That's a house rule, but everybody does it.
Everyone knows that one, yeah.
And so I was like, I was thinking like, oh, that's probably just another house rule. And then they like pull out the fucking booklet and show me that I'm like, no, this is in the rules. I'm like, this is bad. Like, don't ever do this. Like, if I ever play Monopoly on purpose, I'm not going to follow this rule. But
why
Monopoly is a bad game.
On purpose? Yeah.
It's a really bad game. It's Summer's family's favorite game, but it's a bad game.
I think Monopoly is a very bad game, but actually an extremely good work of art.
Yeah, I like.
As an artifact, it owns.
I don't play a whole lot of Monopoly, but I've somehow ended up becoming a Monopoly board collector.
Oh, nice.
I have like all these Monopoly, like we've got the World of Warcraft Monopoly, I've got Pokemon Monopoly, I've got Steven Universe. I'm pretty sure someone got me a cat Monopoly at one point. I've got Anti-Monopoly, which is like they add in like a different way to play it so that you're not trying to be a monopolist or whatever.
Nice.
It's really weird. We didn't really get too far into it before I went, I don't understand this. But yeah, like I love the aesthetic of Monopoly boards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I meant more like, I agree with you there, but also like, you know, Monopoly was literally intended to be a satirical game that about how monopolies are bad, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that, but it also is just like, if you play this game, by the end everyone just hates each other and it sucks and it destroys all. It's a board game that is a metaphor for the alienation of capital, basically. And
it was also
it's great.
Invented by a woman and then stolen by a man.
Go
named
figure.
Milton Bradley.
Fucking of course it was.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, this is now a Monopoly podcast.
One of these days, I'll unwind all of these tangents and we'll get back to Xenogears. But right now, it's a Monopoly podcast.
So Men of the Sea. You go around, you play speed with people. So here's how it works. It's speed, but instead of, in a real card game, like of speed, it's real time. You have to play quickly. And you have 4 cards in front of you. And you grab the card with your hand, and you put the card where you want it. But
also with your hand.
But in this minigame, you are a tiny little fae in a big board game, and you are like 1/10 the size of an entire card. The cards are giant, and you have to run around, like actually run around to the cards and hit the button to control them. So if you want to put the 4th all the way to the left card in the right pile, you have to run all the way to the left side of the board and then hit R on that card, or L to put it in the left pile. And if you want to move the card on the right, you got to run all the way over to the right and hit the button on that card. And it's hard. I played maybe like 5 or 6 rounds before I won. But
and you have to win 3 times to get the good item.
Wait, there's a good item?
You get the Death Blower 1, which lets you have access to all of your level 1 death blows if you've learned them or not.
Holy fuck, that's good.
Yeah, that's why I taught myself speed. Like, that was literally when I was like, I only have about an hour left to play. Where are we stopping? And we're like, okay, well, we'll stop at Billy. And I'm like, okay, well, I can squeeze in a little bit more tomorrow. So I'm going to waste the rest of the time I have today playing fucking speed on a boat.
So are there 3 different characters you have to play with?
Yeah. So you
first one is I beat the kid, the tutorial kid. I beat him.
Yeah, and then after him, there's this aloof dude in the bar. And then there's this like girl that's worshipped for her card game skills in the like item shop area. Like she's up on boxes, and if you lose, she kicks you off the boxes, and you have to jump back up to fight her again. And she's really, really hard. Like like the only way I ended up winning is you can pause at any point in the whole game, and it'll just like hold the whole game and pop up the word pause. So I would do that as soon as it would deal the cards. Look at what my plan was, see what her probable plan was, and try and counteract it. But she's way faster than you are, so you just kind of have to have. She kind of has to get stalemated and be waiting for the turn to end while you're down at the bottom, and you can get like all your cards.
You just
out
have to
right
get
there.
Lucky, basically, that she can't do anything while you play like 5 cards.
Yeah. Because otherwise, she'll just dump her hand on the first fucking turn.
I guess I gotta book another hour to do that because I'm not gonna not do it because I'm me. So anyway, you go around, you explore. I really love the Thames. It's a beautiful area. It's got its own world map, which I think is again not strictly necessary, but you get to like it's cool to look at. And there's a big screw elevator that is an elevator used to travel between rooms that are like fucking adjacent to each other. And
it doesn't make any sense, but it's okay.
There's an optional area where the area is where you like go to shop. But that area is a big platforming area where there's 4 optional treasure chests, and you have to try and get all 4. And I did get all 4, and that was fun.
I looked up how to get the one on the crane, and it never worked for me. So I hope that one wasn't the good one. I didn't look to see what was inside of it.
I don't remember. I got them. I actually forget what was in them, but I got them. That's the important thing is to get them. Really, it doesn't actually matter what's in there.
Yeah. There were some really good stuff in the others, so it probably was like Bart's ultimate weapon or something.
Yep.
But because there's one on a crane that's like going over an open pit where like you can't get up to reach it, but you're supposed to like, according to the guide that I was looking at, you jump like on a dude's head, and that lets you jump up to hit it. And that never came close to being anywhere.
The train
in the same area.
has to be traveling to the right area, and then you jump and you hit it from the bottom. Yeah. I did it on accident. Actually, my first try, I did it on accident, and I got it. So anyway, so you explore. It's cool, and then you talk to the captain, who is a walrus person. And he invites you to dinner, and this is a great part of the game, and it goes on for a long time, but nothing super important happens. You're just chilling with the captain. He invites you to dinner. He says, we're always salvaging shit, but right now we're actually working for Ethos. They're having us working on a very important job right now. We kind of couldn't
Since we're in the water, it's probably that Atlantean stuff we keep talking about.
He's like, since we're, what's the word? Since Ethos is like our number one customer, they're the one who always buy most of our shit. We kind of had to take this job. We couldn't really say no. So we're not really doing our own thing right now. We're doing what they want. Yeah, so cool. We're all just hanging out, and you hang out some more, and he asks you, "What's your deal?" And Bart's like, "I'm a prince," and Bart's like, "Whoa, you're really cool. I want to be."
We don't have Bart yet. You skipped.
Never mind.
But we get Bart back, and it's about.
Oh, that's right. We're just Faye and Ellie right now. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you don't learn a whole lot here. So then Dominia is attacking Yggdrasil. Oh shit. So you don't see this from Yggdrasil's point of view. You're literally just. I think there's like a cutaway scene. There's a cutaway scene of Dominia, and Dominia's like, "I'm gonna get the Yggdrasil," and then you cut to Faye and Ellie, and the captain's like looks off in the distance, off to the horizon, and he's like, "There's some fighting happening over there. We should help." And everyone's like, so the captain has like a first mate who is long suffering, and the whole bit is that the first mate is responsible and wants what's best for everyone, and the captain is just an idiot who's always putting everyone in danger. So the captain's
I also wanted to point out the first mate's name is Hans, and he's another dolphin creature, like Franz.
Yep.
So we are Hans and Franz, and we are going to pump you up.
Oh, wait. What is that from? Amanda's show?
No, it's from SNL.
Oh,
when we met Franz, Eli made the same joke, and you asked, "What's that from? Is it the Amanda Show?"
Wow. Here's the thing: I've watched SNL probably more than I've watched the Amanda Show. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's just such a. Maybe I saw that skit so long ago that it's the time of my life when I would have watched the Amanda Show, which is like SNL for babies. I don't know. But I was
do remember it wasn't when we met Franz; it was when we met Hans in Sailor Moon.
Ah, yes.
That was it.
I watch big boy shows. Anyway, so at any rate, Dominia is attacking them, and so Hans is like, "Dude, just let them fight. Like, we have nothing to do with this." And the captain's like, "I can't let people fight in my ocean." And Hans is like, "Fucking fine." So when you get closer, you realize that it's the Yggdrasil, and Faye still doesn't know Bart is alive. It's been like 10 hours since the explosion in the desert, and Faye has not seen Bart at this point. And remember, they didn't even know who it was that shot them earlier.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh shit, it's the Yggdrasil, we gotta save them." So what happens is the captain's like, "Okay, fine. We won't actually go fight them, but we will drive you over there, and we'll clean up your gears. We'll fix up your gears," which we were already doing anyway, so that you can save them. So you go and you save them, and it's like 2 boss battles, and it's not hard, and you beat them, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not much. But Dominia captures Ellie. For whatever reason, she's like, "Oh, I've been defeated. Well, I'm taking you with me," and she grabs Ellie.
I really liked this fight with Dominia, except I cheesed it because I was looking at the guide and it was like, "Oh, equip your things that nullify electric damage," and I'm like, "Okay," and so she's like, "Big ol' scary electric attack," and I'm just like, "Whatever."
For me, it was actually a relatively difficult fight. I mean, it only took it one try, but yes, that's because I was looking at a guide, so every time I knew there was a boss battle coming up, I was just like, completely guessing, like, maybe this battle's gonna have this in it. Equip that shit, you know?
Yeah,
so
you're like, can't lower my defense and blocking beam damage. Let's try it. And she's like, electricity, and you're like, God damn it.
God damn it.
I did notice at this point though that the game had gotten pretty good at doing it's a art for JRPGs of trying to foreshadow by what's in your item boxes. And you picked up a couple O2 canisters.
Oh, really?
And some, and all the mobs in the area, the last area dropped micas, which protect your gear from electric attacks. And so it was like hinting there. I probably would have figured to do it at that point. But yeah, the guide also helped.
Well, I guess if you're paying attention. My issue is anytime I get an item, it's like, "You got a mica," and I'm like, "I don't know what that is," and I'm not going to waste time going into my menu to look up what it is.
No, I go and I look when it's like, "Oh, you're about to have a boss battle. Would you like to adjust your gear?" And that's when I check it. I'm like,
gotcha.
I see a pattern. Let me just
see a pattern here. Yeah. So anyway, so you get back to the Yggdrasil, and Bart and Faye are like, "What's up?" They're like, acting like it's chill, like they're just like, like it's no big deal. I guess
neither of us had a death scare just now.
It's cool. Neither of us are like really, really excited to see the other. We're just gonna keep it chill, you know.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get a new boyfriend while you were gone.
Yeah, a lot's happened.
Oh wait, you met him? Shit.
Well,
this is awkward.
And now y'all are boyfriends? Oh god, this is awkward. I think I mentioned this on the pod already. There was a time when my there was no, sorry, I said there was a time. This is currently the time. Do you know Nick Rudkin, Sam? Well, anyway, one of my best friends is a really great guy back in Austin, and he lives with his sister, who is my ex, and he also lives with his girlfriend, who is my other ex. But luckily we're all very amicable, and it's nice. But it's just like, objectively speaking, that's like, every time I go visit Nick, it's like, cool, time to go visit my friend and my two exes. But my brother had the same situation. There was a time in my brother's life where all three of his exes lived together in a house. So that was fun. And presumably talked about how dumb he was all the time. Again, total coincidence. It's just that it's a small world when you're a music major at Baylor University.
Yeah, there's like 11 of you out there.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, Bart. So Faye's like, we got to save Ellie, and then Bart says something really snippy. I forget what it is, but he's just like, why? You know, I don't trust her. Which, like, why would he? You know, she's a Solarian soldier. He hasn't seen her. Last time he saw her, she was bad.
Yeah.
So you know, he's like. He just has something really passive-aggressive and snippy, and then Faye gets mad, and then later they have to, like, apologize and make up.
Except just as every time that Bart hasn't trusted Ellie, which now this is the second time, turns out Bart was fucking right, and you can't fucking trust Ellie.
He's always fucking right. Yeah. So I wrote here, the ship is sinking, and I didn't get why, but that's in reference to Faye being mad at Bart. So Bart sank Faye's ship, and he also inadvertently sank their ship. Yeah. But Margie's like, dude, just fucking rescue Ellie. Once again, Bart wants to be reasonable, and Margie wants to help Ellie. Second time that's happened. So Ellie's captured, and she's with Miang and the rest of them. And she's like, Miang's like, Dominia, we can't actually tell if Ellie did a treason. She could have not done a treason for all we know. And then she plays good cop with Ellie, and she also emits some kind of weird energy and fancy magic sound. And then she and Ramses discover that Weltall is at the Thames, and they also kind of have hushed whispers about something sneaky that they're trying to do, probably involving Ellie. And then Ellie very conveniently escapes in like 5 seconds. We don't see her escape. We just see her ship flying away from the ship. And you're like, She shows up at Yggdrasil. Literally, she just walks in the door and is like, sup? And they're like, we were going to rescue you, but I guess you're back? Cool. And then she's like, sup, I feel weird. I need to go to sleep. Can I walk away from y'all with no supervision? And they're like, yeah, sure. Literally, the second she gets off screen, she goes down to the engine room and fucks up the engine. Yeah. And sabotages it. And she's like, cool. It's like this whole process for her being captured to this is like 10 minutes. Like, it moves really, really quickly, and it's kind of dumb.
This is Xenogears being in Rogue Galaxy cutscene, where it's just like, oh no, the ship's exploding, but it's okay, because it was just a cutscene, and we're back to normal.
Yeah, so it turns out she was hypnotized using some very powerful technology where you can immediately hypnotize someone to do, like, you know, like they hear the trigger word and you do exactly a series of pre-planned actions. And Saitan explains this, and Faye's like, why didn't you fucking stop her? And he's like, oh, well, if you break someone's hypnotism while they're in the middle of doing the action, it'll, like, destroy their brain. And then he's like, I guess I probably could have stopped her a little sooner, though.
I probably could have, like, not let us crash and drown in the middle of the ocean. Like, maybe that was the wrong part.
So what happens here is the reason she was hunting the ship was because that way the Yggdrasil can't dive, and if they can't dive, then they're susceptible to being fucked up. So you do a bunch more fighting, a bunch more gears attack. The one from earlier, you fight it again, and also Ramses is there. It's not that interesting or important. You just are doing more fighting. It's like this part of the game. It's like there's supposed to be a plot happening, But instead of the plot happening, they never get to because they just keep getting interrupted by the bad guys trying to fight them.
Yeah.
It's like, can we do the plot? No, we're bad guys. We're going to kill you. Okay, we beat you. Can we do the plot now? No, now Ellie's hypnotized. Can we do the plot now? Anyway, Faye gets really hurt. What is it? Like his gear? Oh, because it's underwater fight, right?
Yeah.
So this is the part I actually was smart at. Okay, so again, it's like, we're going to go fight and protect the Yggdrasil. And I'm like, it's probably going to be underwater. So I equipped the item that makes you the D chip or something, which gives you way higher agility underwater. Turns out it's a 2-part boss battle. Only the second of them is underwater. The first one is not. How'd y'all do with these boss battles?
They were pretty easy.
Yeah, they weren't too bad.
I got really wrecked the first time. But then tried it again and completely wrecked, and it wasn't hard at all. Hi.
Yeah. You said hi.
Say, I love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a sweetie pie.
She's so cute.
True MVP
outfit,
of the
Scarlett.
pod.
I love
It's a Scarlet cast now.
Yeah.
This is we're gonna talk with Scarlett about calculus and about Monopoly.
Musicals.
And about Monopoly. Yeah, this is that's what this is now. Anyway, it's underwater fight, so Faye's gear gets damaged or something, and water like pours in or something, and he gets brain damage, and they're like, oh no. So they're like, Faye's real injured, he might be dead, this is bad. The only way we can save him is with fancy ethos medicine. Because it turns out that the Ethos HQ is nearby, and they have extremely fancy Catholic hospitals that are good and
which
do
is
a lot
true.
of nice and do a lot of nice research. Yeah, but you need an Ethos. Unlike Catholic hospitals, you need an Ethos person to introduce you. Only Ethos people can use their medical facilities or friends of the Ethos. They're like, well, shit. How are we going to make friends with some random Ethos person? Turns out there's an, quote, Etone visiting the Thames right now. Yeah, so there's zombies in this game, it turns out.
There are?
Oh, I guess we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, so you know the wells they keep talking about? The Reapers?
Oh, that's zombies?
Yeah, they're zombies.
Shit.
So, yeah. I mean,
I thought that it was related to well tall.
No, I don't know what they're called wells. Yeah, I guess we don't find that out till we get to the next dungeon. But yeah, so it turns out this place, all of Aquavie, is just riddled with these. They're more like husks from Mass Effect.
Okay.
Point is, they're just riddled with these mutant monsters called wells, and they're always attacking. And Etones are they're Jesuit Green Beret shock troopers, basically, and their job is to kill the zombies and the vampires and all that shit. So one of them's visiting. So you go to the deck of the of the river
Thames?
The river Thames, yeah. And some cyberpunk punks are trying to kidnap this little girl, and Faye and Ellie try to stop them. And
Bart and Ellie. Faye's in a coma.
You're right. I'm bad at names. All the characters are Faye. Bart and Ellie try to stop them. A gunshot happens, and Clint Eastwood appears.
Yeah. When you were like, we get to meet my favorite character, and this guy walked out, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. The like drifter version of the Mallet character is usually great. And then he's like, my name is Jesse. And I'm like, oh, so it's not Billy. So there's going to be another gun-toting badass then, I guess.
Yeah.
Billy's actually even cooler.
I already love Billy, by the way.
Fucking owns. Have y'all heard his full name yet? Have you had a chance to hear his full name?
No.
I don't think so.
His name is Billy Lee Black. Which is just the most like, it's like, why is this a Western now? But also, it's on the ocean. Is this Waterworld? Starring
It's
Kevin
Waterworld.
Costner. Anyway, yeah, so Josiah, who is Clint Eastwood, helps chase off the punks, but then he pulls a gun on Ellie because he's like, you're a Solarian, I'm gonna shoot you in the face with a shotgun. But Saitan's like, no, stop. And then he's like, hey, what's up, Josiah? Because we know each other, because I'm fucking Saitan and everyone knows everyone in this goddamn game.
And the best part is Josiah doesn't know him as Saitan and doesn't care that it's a secret that his name is Hyuga, and he's a part of like some creepy or not creepy, like secret element thing. He's just like, oh, must be you, Hyuga. And
it's like, oh,
good thing,
Sephiwaga, my friend from back in Elements class.
Yeah. And it's like, good thing Faye's asleep because he's the only person we don't want to know the secret, apparently.
Very diverse class, I guess. Like we got like Japanese, we got like anime man Saitan, we got like desert pirate Bart, and then we've got literal Clint Eastwood. And apparently they all went to the same high school.
Yeah.
They all grew up in the same orphanage.
And so did Ramses and Miang too. So it's just a whole bunch of. It's one of those magnet schools. They make sure to get people from all different types of communities. So anyway, so he's like, oh yeah, the girl's my daughter. I was going to say it's one of those high schools from a blanket movie, and I can't remember his name, but I was like Breakfast Club and stuff.
Oh yeah, that motherfucker. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. But I couldn't. My film degree proved ever useless, and even this popular thing.
Can't even remember the name of such a famous filmmaker as that. Yeah, well, me either. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, the girl's my daughter, and Saitan's like, oh, is that the daughter that caused your shotgun wedding? And he's like, dude, rude. Jesus fucking Christ! He's gonna say that shit out of nowhere, and then he's like, "Also, can you do math, you idiot? She's clearly like 7 years old. That was 13 years ago. Or 16 years ago. My first child is 16 now. And also my wife's dead now.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, asshole. Anyway, I'm here doing some shopping. Plus, my son, who I mentioned a second ago, is in the area. And that's when you realize, oh, Billy, the son is the E-Tone.
John Hughes. That's what it was.
John Hughes. Yes, John Hughes.
I was thinking John Roberts, and that's not right.
That's different. Also not John Waters. So anyway, Billy shows up, and he's got a Pilgrim's Progress-ass haircut.
He really does.
It's great. He's just a good little goody-good Catholic boy. And he's wearing a sweet outfit, and he says, you're like, hey, can you introduce us so our friend doesn't die? And he's like, okay. He's actually not that nice. He's got this very, like, pompous attitude. He's like, oh, I'm really busy, but I can introduce you. But I'm doing important, religious work. I'm actually an E-Tone who fights zombies and vampires and shit like Castlevania, but I'm also just a regular priest. I'm both. Yeah, I'm pretty cool. I can also forgive your sins if you want me to.
One thing I thought was great is he's like, I can't do anything, I'm really busy. And then the Holy Mother of Nissan steps forward and is like, me too, join the fucking club. We kind of got a world to save. And he's and then he says my favorite thing that real people have never said, and he goes, I've never had a proper chance to speak to others about their religions. Can we talk later? I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
They're being overly I think our boy Takahashi or his wife Saraya Saga are being overly optimistic about people in their
that's a very Unitarian Universalist thing to say, and that's as someone who grew up Unitarian Universalist, like, and still considers himself one, even if he doesn't make it to church very often. It's like we care about other religions. We want to know about others' beliefs because we find it interesting, and we believe that everybody has their own search for truth. So he's just a UU in a Catholic getup.
Well, I think honestly, I feel like the Nissans basically are UUs,
Eli,
but he's definitely Catholic.
Eli, do you fight zombies? The law says you have to tell me if you fight zombies.
Shit. Wait, are you a zombie?
You have literally three. Yeah.
You literally have 3 different guns and an entirely independent fighting system than the other people in your party.
You got me.
Ammunition for some fucking reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept seeing bullets being sold, and I was like, "What the fuck are these for?" Like,
I just love how Japanese work. It's like, all the shops are selling guns and ammo. I wonder if I'm gonna get a guy who shoots guns.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
every time you come into a new town, it's like, they sell spears here. Well, I guess I'm getting a new party member.
Can I just say,
pretty
fucking
soon.
aside here, how nice is it that 3 of the main characters in this goddamn game don't have to equip weapons?
Yeah,
it's
pretty great.
You don't have to spend money on them. Faye, Saitan, and Rico all just punch bad guys. So you get to the shop and it's like, all you have to do is buy a whip for Bart and
a rod for Ellie.
A rod for Ellie, and I guess a gun for Guns Braster, and it's like, we're done. That's it. Awesome. That was half as much money as we normally would have spent in this kind of game.
And they don't even do the things where like Faye has to equip like brass knuckles or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's like
literally nothing.
I really appreciate that.
It's great. Have either of y'all played Charles Rocky Shut Up and Jim Gaiden RPG?
No, we were going to for a bonus episode here pretty soon.
It's very important. In that game, they exclusively refer to guns as capital Gun apostrophe S. And the game plays with like class types. So the class of character who shoots guns is a Guns Braster.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that meant.
And it is, I can never ever, like, that game, every single word they use in that goddamn game will stick in your brain forever, and you'll never be able to not say Guns Braster. You'll never be able to not call video games VidCons. Anytime you hear like a hip indie person call a video game a VidCon, they're referencing Charles Rocky Shut Up and Jim Gaiden RPG.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good shit. It's a great game. So yeah,
Eli just needs to get sick so we have an excuse to make a bonus episode. We've been all really healthy for like most of the last like 10, 15 weeks.
I mean, I could just like sleep in. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Just tell me when you do want to do a bonus episode and I'll just sleep.
He slept. Yeah, so you go to Ethos HQ. There's a lot of talking here, but basically you go to Ethos HQ. Did either of y'all go to any of the other areas on the world map at this point?
I did not, because the guide said you want to be able to get in anyways. So I didn't.
I am trying to get through this game as quickly as possible because I only have so much time.
I think there's an optional world map area a little bit later, although here there's not. You can go to the orphanage early, which is fun. Nothing to do.
I did know about that.
Like, they're just like, stranger danger. Who are you? But also you can go to this extremely dramatic looking tower that stretches up into the sky. And that's Babel Tower. And if you go there, there's a little intro cutscene that shows how the tower goes up to you can't see it anymore. And then if you try to walk up to it, it's that thing where it's clearly protected by some kind of like magic barrier, you know? But first of all, no one mentions it. There's not a dialogue option being like, I guess it's a magic barrier. All that happens is you walk up to it, and you know, in games like Pokemon or whatever, you walk over poison and the screen flashes in such a way that you can tell that something bad has happened. It's the most that you've ever seen. It's like the loudest, screechiest noise, the seizure-inducingest flashes of light, the most awful visual and graphics to show that you very clearly is not happening. So you back off away from the magic door, and I immediately checked my HPs, and they hadn't gone down.
That's amazing.
And I was like, wait, this didn't like hurt me? Because that's how it usually is in these games, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, you can't go into the tower.
But fucking running water in the sewer does 3 damage to you.
Yep.
This game is stupid.
Fun fact. The Tower of Babel is the dungeon.
Aha.
Ooh.
The one that Eli is not going to like because it is a tower.
Yeah.
And it's really long, and we're playing it next week.
Oh boy.
So, fun fact.
So, Spiffle could play it tonight, and then hook his Vita up to his PS4 and copy the save file to a USB stick, and then mail the USB stick to Eli, who can then put it on his PS4 and transfer it to his Vita. That would take less time than you
playing it yourself.
I thought the game wasn't on PS4. I thought that was the whole reason I had a PS3.
It's not, but you can use it as a USB device to get your save files to your Vita.
Oh, I don't have a Vita.
Oh yeah, I don't think you'd be able to. Oh, you could just plug it into your PS3. I was adding steps. So yeah, you would just plug it into your PS3, and then everything would be great.
Into your PS3.
Yeah. just do it that really obnoxious way.
yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Or just jump and curse God.
And then
or blame yourself for God.
Blame yourself for God. Or as they say in Job, curse God and die.
Yeah.
Good old book of Job. Yeah, so you go to the Ethos HQ, and the top of it is just a really cool ass cathedral, although not as cool as the Nissan Cathedral, IMHO.
Yeah.
And down below, you go down to the bottom floor, and it's like sci-fi ass hallways, right? They clearly have these advanced scientific facilities underneath the normal looking cathedral.
And what I think is great, you walk in there and you're like, wow, this is a great cathedral. And Billy's like, yeah, this is just the practice cathedral, because that's a sentence that's ever been said. And so we only are going to let you use the practice facilities, not the really good, nice ones that are over there.
Yeah. You can go in a room and there's a confessional. I want to make a blog where it's just confessionals in video games, because I'm always like, it's so cool. You don't actually have to use it, but it's just like, it's a very unique bit of architecture. Like, you see a confessional, you know what the fuck it is. You're not going to confuse it for something else, right? You're not going to be like, what is the function of this room? You know,
it's a bathroom.
Yeah, you're like, there's two rooms with a weird little gap between them and like a little grate. Like, oh, this is a confessional. How interesting. So yeah, you know, you can explore.
Speaking of confessionals, does Dominia's gear count as crab in game?
Crab in game.
Crab in game.
I love when the game has crab. So
is this more Homestuck?
No. This is a reference to RPG
Michael.
Book Club.
Oh God,
I really like
on brand. Actually,
I don't listen to this podcast.
Crab is just a really good animal, and I like it when crab in game.
Okay. No, that's fair.
When we were talking about Alistia in Rogue Galaxy, he was like,
that's
crab
right.
in game.
That's right.
That's kind of me and Bernard. Well, like, I think it started with back in a few years ago, there was a fad where all of a sudden all the games had dogs in them. And people would say that there'd be like a trailer for some new game, and there'd be a shot of a dog, and people would be like, "Dog in game." But at any rate, yeah, crabs are good. One time I was playing Dark Souls 3, and I was in one of the areas, and I was like, I'm enjoying this game, you know, but I feel like it's missing something, right? And then I get to the zombie area, and I see a little crab, and I was like, crab in game. And I attack it, and as I'm attacking the crab, all of a sudden, I'm just enjoying it. I'm like attacking the crab. A second crab shows up, I'm attacking it, I'm killing them, and I'm still like, oh, they're so cute. Then I swivel the camera to the right, and what do I see running towards me but the giantest, enemy-assist crab you've ever seen. Clearly these things are the mama. Charging at me at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I was like, ah! So I'm excited about the crab, right? But then, no, I think I was so excited about the crab. I was like, it's a giant crab, I'm excited. And then the crab, oh no, that's right, because big enemies are usually slow, right? So I see the enemy off in the distance, and I'm like, I'm gonna slowly approach it. I'm gonna shoot an arrow. I'm gonna throw the things you throw in Dark Souls, the black gunpowder bomb. But then it starts running at me at like 30 miles an hour, and I turn tail and I run, and I go, "Tell him, Daisy, change your mind. Daisy, change your mind." Because I'm always referencing The Great Gatsby is what happened there.
Okay.
Anyway,
that one wasn't Homestuck. That was Great Gatsby. That was a coin.
More references I don't get.
It's the best book ever written in English, probably, except maybe Lolita. I don't know. It's a good book. Lolita's a really good book. Anyway, there's crab in game. Yeah. They're like,
sorry to derail us. Literally one sentence before the end of our notes.
They're like, hey, you can only go in the special part of the cathedral, so please follow me. And you follow them. If you try to go in any other room, they're like, no, you got to follow me. Funny thing is, if you try to go into the confessional at this point, Billy is like, don't go in there now. We got to focus on going to save Faye. Oh, but if you need to confess, we can talk later. And like, that owns. This guy's cool. Although he does not follow up on that. FYI.
Yeah, there's nobody in the confessional when you go.
Bullshit. Maybe later when he joins your party, you can go and confess.
Maybe.
I'm gonna check that next week. They'd better. Anyway, they put Faye in a sci-fi Pokemon Center thing to help him. And then Satana and Bart just go for a walk. You literally just like walk around, and then if you enter a random room and learn about Babel Tower, the plot advances.
So actually, doesn't happen that way, because the guide was like, just go to the library, and when you leave the library, you'll talk to Ellie, because Ellie's like, oh, I want to stay here with Faye or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, so I go into the library and I come out and it doesn't work. What you have to do, for some esoteric bullshit reason, is you have to go to the front room, talk to some people there, then go to the library, talk to some, but not just go to the library and come out. Go to the library, talk to everyone in the library, and then leave. So I ended up reading about Babel like 2 or 3 times just because I didn't do all of the checks of go and explore.
How odd. This seems a funny thing here where they took a Bible story, except they made it worse. Because the actual Tower of Babel story owns. It's like these people wanted to kill God's ass because they're in a JRPG. So they all work together to build a big tower to kill God, because apparently God just lives up in the sky. My favorite part about my favorite part about the Tower of Babel story is that God has to stop them. Like God does not live up in the air. If there is a God, he lives in like some alternate dimension. Like heaven is not on this plane of existence. So like the idea that God like had to foil their plot of building a tower, otherwise they would have killed him.
Yeah.
like what? Would they, if he hadn't done that, would they have gone up and killed him? Like, no, clearly not. So why did he do that? Well, it was just, frankly, I think a bigger fuck you would have been let them build their tower. And then they build it higher and higher and higher, and then eventually they can't build it any higher because of like physics. And he's just like, "Yeah, you idiots." But
that's what you get. That would have been a really good ass parable, just that way. But
then it didn't work because they were stupid. And also, why would you have killed God? He's literally God. What are you gonna do? Hit him with your ancient sticks? Like, come on. Or with your giant robots? Like, come on. But anyway, no, so the actual Tower of Babel story, right, is they're building the tower to God, and God's like, oh no, apparently I'm scared because they're going to kill me if they keep building this tower. So he confuses their brains and invents languages, and now everyone speaks a different language, so they can't coordinate on building the tower, and that's how we have languages. Great little story.
Also, you could have drawn a diagram and kept going.
Oh, yeah. Great little story here, right? But in this game, it's like they're building a tower to the heavens, and God was scared, so he blew up the tower with lightning. Yeah. Which, like, is not as good. It's like, okay, blew up with lightning. That's not as cool as inventing language.
Especially because, unlike most media, there exists multiple languages that it's been established that some people don't speak. Because, like, Saitan and Ellie just spoke German or whatever for a bit. This game, they could have gotten away with it being languages, but no.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just so funny how they ripped off the Bible but made it worse. But there is one cool
but in
part,
the
though.
end, they added robots to the Bible, so maybe it's like a net even.
You win some, you lose some, yeah. And also in this story, even though God destroying the tower with lightning isn't as cool as languages, it is cool that after he destroyed the tower with lightning, the people who are trying to kill God are like, well, we're scared of God's wrath, so in order to get away from it, we're going to build a fucking floating city in the sky. So that's cool. You don't see that in the Bible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you win some, you lose some. So after you learn about all that shit, you leave, and they're like, hey, we saved Faye. He's still unconscious because he's of, like, exhaustion, but, like, he's not going to die, so just, let him sleep in the Yggdrasil for a few days, and he'll be fine.
Let him sleep in the Yggdrasil for approximately one dungeon, and then
approximately one plot point. I think it's actually approximately 2 dungeons, interestingly enough. Yeah.
That's fine. He's way over leveled compared to everyone else. I need to catch everyone else.
Because, like, every time a new character would join, usually that gives you, like, a barometer of where you're supposed to be. I don't even feel like I grinded any, and Faye was 10 levels higher than 10? Rico, and was 7 levels higher than Billy. And
he's only 3 higher for me.
But yeah, he's still, like, ridiculously over leveled, and I don't feel like I did anything different.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so then they're like, oh, we should go to the orphanage, and just thank Billy. Even though, like, from a geographical standpoint, the orphanage is, like, a quarter of the way around the world map. But this is a JRPG where, like, travel
the world
time...
map is, like, approximately the size of, like, one county.
And also
like
just like travel
driving
time
up to Georgetown from Austin
doesn't
like,
exist in
that's,
this
Yeah.
game.
that's crossing the world.
Yeah, apparently. Also, the world map is almost unnecessary in this game. There's like 7 locations.
Yeah.
Well, because every location in this game is so enormous and elaborate and detailed, but there's only a couple of them. So the world map just feels very sparse. FF9's like that too.
Yeah.
FF9, like, there's so few things on the world map. I honestly think people talk about how revolutionary FF10 was for not having a world map, but they were already halfway there with 9. 9, the world map feels like a formality. It feels like it's there because they had to. And then in 10, they're like, oh, wait, let's just take it out.
Like, world maps are something that we brought with us from 16-bit, because you couldn't, like, model the whole world in a 16-bit RPG, but they actually didn't have a place in 3D RPGs.
Yeah, they became vestigial eventually.
Yeah, because, like, the Tales games, like Tales of Symphonia is the last one that has a world map. Like, Final Fantasy VII used it to good effect, but I remember 8's was kind of sparse too. 9's was super sparse, and then it was gone by 10. I feel like you don't really need it, because you could just design a plot that to happen along the inside of it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even Dragon Quest XI finally got rid of world map. It's crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, which for Dragon Quest, which is such a formal game, which does things for a very specific reason, for for formal reasons, is honestly, so far I'm loving Dragon Quest XI, but it's fucking me up as a huge Dragon Quest fan. I'm like, what the fuck? The situation. So the way that it went is the same way FF10 went. It's sort of like it reminds me of and I think this is the way that most JRPGs would go, reasonably speaking. It's kind of a Knights of the Old Republic situation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where you have these field areas, they're big and open. They're linear though, so it's not like it's Xenoblade either, right? Yeah. It's like these very wide hallways. You know what I mean?
It's like there's only one real place you can go. You discover where to go because it's big, not because it's a discovery engine type thing.
It's a quote-unquote world made of a bunch of large interconnected areas. Again, like a Knights of the Old Republic. I feel like most of these games, FF 7, 8, 9, and Xenogears, you could remake in that style, I feel like.
Yeah.
Get rid of the world map, add interconnecting areas, or just like you leave one scene, it warps you to the next scene, right? Yeah. Honestly, I know you don't like FF7, Sam, but I would love it if they did that with the remake. Like, I would love it if they made it completely modernized. Like,
which it looks like they might be doing, but also they fired everyone that was working on it, so it might go back to just being up-res.
I love the original game, but that's the thing. I don't want the original game with better graphics. I want them. I would love it if they made it like, I like classic design style, but I also like modern design style. So, like, if the new game, my ideal FF7 remake, and I feel this way for any JRPG, basically, by the way, except for Dragon Quest, turn-based battle systems are fun and all, right? But, like, I'm sorry, just make it an action game.
Yeah.
Like, what if Xenogears, like, played like a fucking beat 'em up? You know, you're Faye, or it plays like Devil May Cry and shit. It wouldn't make the game worse.
Yeah. In a world where, I mean, not counting the last 2 years where we had Persona 5 and Dragon Quest 11, both of which are turn-based RPGs, we haven't had them in forever. So I appreciate the desire to go back to them, but like, I also think if you're going to remake something and not just up-res it and stuff like that, I think it's a good opportunity to change them up, especially because Final Fantasy VII's version of the Final Fantasy engine or whatever is kind of really boring, and I don't interact with it at all except for plugging in the good spells, and then you go.
Exactly. Dragon Quest and SMT are basically the only turn-based RPG battle systems that are interesting or good. Any other game is just a placeholder while you do the plot. So, like, why not? Like, again, Mass Effect, it's like, what if a JRPG, but instead of turn-based battle system, it was a shooter? Mm-hmm. It's good. It's an improvement. Yeah. Anyway, that's
by
why
the way, we finished the plot for the week.
Yeah, that's why they should remake Xenogears. Except when you play as Billy, it's just Gears of War. It's Xenogears of War, right?
Xenogears of War.
Yeah,
you
so
heard
you go
it here
to save,
first, folks.
You go to save Billy, and he gives you a bunch of exposition, most of which I forget because I was playing too late and I tried to take notes and I fell asleep while taking notes. But he's like, yo, I run this orphanage. All the kids are good little Catholic boys. But oh no, we've got a problem where the wells are everywhere. And we found this ship. And this ship is like, what is it? It's like a derelict, like a derelict ghost ship or something where everyone on the ship died.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was an Ethos transport ship, and they were just transporting some shit, but then all of a sudden it goes offline. So they're like, what happened to this ship? Let's go investigate. Oh, I wonder if Reapers, like, killed everyone on the ship. There's also this bishop named Bishop Stone, who, he doesn't actually do anything. Did y'all pick up an ominous vibe from him?
I felt something weird about him, but he has a pencil mustache and he hangs out with kids a lot, so I don't think it was related to the plot.
Yeah, he doesn't actually do anything ominous, but I'm still like, yeah, he's gonna be bad later. He's gonna be. I mean, we've already met like 3 other Catholic characters that are good, so clearly one of them's got to be bad, right?
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Clearly one of them's got to be secretly the devil or something like that. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans, but it's not. This is a side quest, right? So, one of those required side quests, FF7 style.
We forgot the important bit of stuff that happened. Or I'm just in the wrong spot.
What part?
Talking about how Jesse was a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, that was earlier. I had that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jesse, so the church doesn't like Josiah very much because he's a shitty deadbeat dad. You know, his goody good son is a goody good Catholic boy, but his dad is always being drunk and apparently like has like bombed Ethos ships.
Yeah.
So he's like maybe a terrorist.
He also disappeared for forever from raising Billy and Prim, and then his mom died and didn't even show up to the funeral, and then he shows up like 2 years later and it's just like, hey, what's up? Where's your mom? Like, I'm such a deadbeat, I didn't even realize my wife died. What's up?
Where'd my wife go? I'm literally only here for a booty call. Oh, she's dead? Oh shit. Okay.
Dang it.
Well,
bye. See you later. I'm taking your sister. I have joint custody of her for some reason now.
Yeah. And also, as was mentioned earlier, turns out Josiah and Saitan and Sigurd all were in Solaris Hogwarts together, and they all got into the Advanced Elements class, so they're all badasses, apparently, and they go way back. Why they're here now, who knows?
And one of my favorite excuses for we want the next scene to happen at night, but we can't have a really good one, is you're like, all right, we're all ready to go, but Josiah and Saitan and Sigurd are fucking trashed in the Yggdrasil, and so you have to wait till they get over their hangovers the next day so that you can then see Billy sneaking out to come and go with you.
Yeah, it's really good. So anyway, so you say we're gonna go help. Billy's like, I'm not gonna help, but then you do help. And they get trashed, and then Billy joins your party. But if I'm not mistaken, there's not a chance to use Billy, right? Like, you can't, like, actually not go to the dungeon and leave and go to the world map or something, right? You just, like...
I don't know. Because you go and you pick him up, and then it lets you walk around the Yggdrasil at least, and there's a save point right there, so that's where I stopped.
Yeah, you get railroaded. So basically it's like, we're gonna go to the dungeon.
But before that, Bart proves that he's the best boy again. So, and I really love this part. So Billy is like, yeah, raising my sister without my dad and my mom being dead, and also while trying to become a zombie hunter and a priest was really hard. I almost went so far as to sell my body to support Prim since we only had each other for so long. And Bart's just like, look, I don't care what the fuck happens. You never turn to prostitution. You come to me and I'll help you out. I don't even care if like I have to go prostitute myself, but you don't have to do that to yourself. And so I'm just like, Bart, you're the best. You're the best character in this game.
Yeah, he's good. Or Bart's like, look, you could be a cheap prostitute or come to me and I'll pay Oh, wow.
or come to me and I'll be your pimp and I'll make sure you get the good paying jobs.
Yeah. So anyway, so also in the morning, when Billy joins you, he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and explain how my guns work." He goes, "We E-tones have some rather unique equipment. They're called guns."
As if you haven't been fighting like giant robots with guns this entire game.
Apostrophe S. But no, it's so weird. So he's got like, I don't know. You'd think one gun would be enough. But
no, he's got 3.
No, he's got 3: handgun, ether gun, and big gun. Yes, it's called big gun.
Big gun. And you need ammo for 2 of them. You don't need it for the ether gun, and you can't upgrade your big gun or your ether gun.
Yeah, so you only have to buy 1 gun. You have to buy your light attack is a handgun. Your medium attack is ether bullets, and your heavy attack is a badass shotgun. It's actually 2 shotguns. I think later in the game it becomes 2 shotguns. Dual wheel, because he's a fucking badass. And apparently he made the gun, the ether and shotgun himself. He invented shotguns.
Yeah.
And yeah, but instead of guns, you can give it different kinds of ammo. And later, I think you can also give it like elemental ammo, like water ammo or fire ammo. The ether gun does not use ammo because it shoots ether. Which is
a thing.
Not the same as alcohol. It's not that kind of ether. Well, no, ether is like magic in this game, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't drain your mana.
Ether is Takahashi's favorite word for magic. It's that way in all the other Xeno games too.
Yep.
Instead of just saying this is your magic attack, it's your ether probability or whatever.
After you explain, Bart goes, "I understood it roughly, but it's a bit complicated, isn't it?" Like that's like Bart commenting on the game.
Yeah. Not even just Billy's thing, the whole game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That's like sort of a tongue-in-cheek word of God referencing on the game.
Yeah.
And then also Billy looks on the wall of the Yggdrasil and he's like, "That's a cool gun." And Bart's like, "Yeah, that's our cool famous gun that's been handed down for generations." And he's like, "That gun's too good for you."
Yeah.
You idiot who just uses a whip. So yeah, anyway, there's a bunch more scenes that are whatever. Like the people at the orphanage, or as a child, a bunch of kids got killed by Reapers and shit like that. They took all the Reapers and made a giant Reaper human out of it. And it's a really dumb final boss.
That's a Mass Effect 2 reference, Eli.
Okay, cool.
I was just as lost as you were until he got to that point.
Oh, no, only the part at the end, remember, from Mass Effect 2. The rest of it, I was just describing what happens in Xenogears. No, really. Yeah, so anyway, you get to the dungeon. You literally are in the Yggdrasil, and you save.
We save in the Yggdrasil. We we don't leave to go to the dungeon yet.
Yeah. Well, no. You literally go up you're at the dungeon right now. You leave to go up the.
Oh, I meant like playing. We're not in the dungeon.
Yes. So plot-wise, though,
geographically, but we're saving.
So next time around, what are we going to do? We're going to go up the ladder of the Yggdrasil, and at the top of the ladder is bada bing dungeon. So yeah. That's it for the week. How do y'all feel about the events this week?
There was a lot of it.
I really liked it. My favorite bit is a part that you skipped over, and I'm going to go back to it. So,
sure. What part?
So Walrus Man from the Thames, he has a catchphrase where he's like, because are we? And then the camera will turn, and he'll turn to the camera. He goes like, "We are men," and then the camera will turn, and he goes, "Of," and it'll turn again. He goes, "The sea," and it's great. And so there's a little boy. He's like, "When I grow up, I want to be a ship captain. I want to be a man of the sea." Except when he says the sea, he faces the wrong camera, and he's like, "Dang it, I did it wrong. It's over there. I gotta keep
and you're
trying."
Like, wait, what's it? He's aware of the camera, not pointing at. He's aware of the fourth wall, like, and he knows that he's facing. He's like, "Oh, that's the second wall. Shit."
And so then later, Bart and Walrus Man are drinking each other under the table, and they do it together. But Bart says something else. I think I took screenshots. He goes, "Proof of the men of the sea." And it's so good.
Being able to drink a lot is proof of the men of the sea. Yeah. Yeah, actually, you know what? Since we're sharing random parts, I took a lot of screenshots of stuff that were just not that important. I just skipped over it. But one part I sent my buddy Bernard, who He has started playing the game.
Ooh.
So Bernard hates this
May
game.
finally
He doesn't
actually
think
hear this.
it's good at all. But he was, I guess, at work and was bored, so he started playing it, and he's blazing through it. Holy shit. He's probably already, like, rescued Margie by now.
Jesus.
But he keeps sending me parts that are, like, dumb or parts that are good, and I keep sending him parts. So, when you're in Men of the Sea place, Thames, you can go to the, what do you call it? You can go to the fucking, infirmary. And when you go there, so everyone on the Thames is really salty. They're all just salty sailors. They're rough with each other. Like, they love each other, but they're very rough with each other, right? And you go there, and you go to the infirmary, and they're like, oh, are you injured? And I'm like, yeah, I'm injured. And they're like, okay, well, you can stay here. So it's just an inn, right? So the screen fades to black, and then it fades back up. And then what the infirmary guy says, he goes, never come here again.
Yeah.
It's just really funny. There's also a part when you're catching up with Bart where Faye and Bart are catching up, and he goes, I got reamed by a red gear monster.
Gross.
And I'm like, oh my god. Also, there's a part where the walrus says, if you don't take time in life to enjoy a drink, you will be swallowed by the waves of anxiety. Which is good life advice. So those are the screenshots that I took.
What about you, Eli? What was your favorite part this week?
I really like the Men of the Sea.
Men of the Sea are great.
I'm in love with Billy. I love me a badass holy man.
He basically is he's the extension of a trope that was really popular at turn of the century and is kind of mostly gone away, of the badass Catholic, like the Western comic book priest, and pretty much every manga that came out that time was about some badass holy man.
Yeah.
His demeanor is kind of similar to the way I RP my undead half-elf priest in World of Warcraft too. Nice. So yeah. I like characters that remind me of my babies.
Yeah.
I someone in the Discord, I forget whom, but shout out to whoever it was, recently asked a question that was like, what's a weird obscure thing that will always make you interested in a game? And for me, it's a cool Catholic dude. Like, because like what I like about it, because like Castlevania, right? Obviously, it's the classic cool Catholic. You're either a cool Catholic or you're Dracula's son for some reason. But anyway, I like the one where you're the cool Catholic better. And what I like about it is how simplistic the worldview is, right? Like in real life, we don't have actual vampires and werewolves, but in fiction where that exists, it's like, no, these things are literal forces of darkness. They are actually evil. You don't have to feel morally bad about killing them. They are Satan, and you're killing them with the power of God on your side. And there can be emotional nuance in the stories, but the emotional nuance does not extend to whether or not the bad guys are sympathetic in some way. Yeah. You know, because any other story where the bad guys are humans, there's always that element of it, right? It's like, it's like,
oh, why are you doing this? But when
is it right to throw someone in jail for life? Is it right to have the death penalty no matter how bad somebody is? Is it right for the hero to kill the villain? But when you're a cool
Catholic,
it
right for Faye to just murder a bunch of security guards?
Yeah. But when you're a cool Catholic, it's okay, because when you throw the holy water on Dracula, on a Dracula, and he starts like sizzling, you're like, yeah, no, this thing is an abomination with literally no soul, and it is cosmologically okay for me to destroy it. And that's what's cool. Also, the fashion, you know, and it's like, it's water. It looks like normal water, but it's actually holy. But like, it looks the same as regular water, and like there's transubstantiation. It's just it's good shit. It's good shit.
Yeah. And so Xenogears keeps it fresh to add in nuance. Instead of just having one Catholic, they just have 5 or 6.
No, there's a whole gang of. It's like fucking West Side Story. Except one of the gangs is just a bunch of. Well, they're probably Catholic in West Side Story now that I think about it, because they're Puerto Ricans and Italians, so they're all Catholic.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the dance. We're the rootin' tootin' dancing fighting Catholics. Also, according to one NPC in the church, true faith comes from a stern doctrine.
Right. Yeah, I screenshotted that one too. But, Yeah, I think this has been the least RPG in most book club that we've ever done.
Perhaps.
Yeah, there was a good 35 minutes there in the middle where we did, because I remember us being done with the plot, just having to talk about picking up Billy at 1 hour. Oops. So this last hour, nothing has happened in the game, but we've talked about Monopoly, we've talked about musicals, talked about Scarlet, everything is awesome. But
everything is awesome, yeah.
That about
next time. Not the case. Yeah, so next time, we're playing quite a bit. So for those of you who are listening, what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be playing I should open up 2 windows for this, actually. So we played a whopping 9 chapters this week, which is insane. Usually we play 4, right?
Yeah. On the guide, there was one that was the one that was called Betrayal. Literally is there just happens to be a save point there. It's the only reason you realize the chapter changed, because it's a middle of a cutscene. You can save and you walk outside and then there's more cutscene and then you're out of it by the time the cutscene's over.
Yep,
it's super short.
So next we are playing the chapters Reaper's Ship, Burning Souls, Ocean Floor, Deep Sea Girl, and Babel Tower. Yeah, it's quite a bit, actually. Reaper's Ship and Burning Souls is one plot thing. Ocean Floor and Deep Sea Girl is another plot thing. It's unrelated. It's a whole next episode of the anime. And then Babel Tower is Babel Tower. Babel Tower is a approximately 90-minute long dungeon with platforming and multiple boss battles and incredible music. So what you're going to play is you're going to play all the way through that shit. And once you get up to the top of the tower, that's it. When you're at the top of the tower, you will have a boss called Saibzen, and after you defeat Saibzen, you will go to the next major location of the game, and you get there and you save.
Cool.
So very, very simple. You'll definitely actually, I will say, apparently it's hard to find the save point. When you get to the next major area of the game, apparently, I'm just reading the walkthrough here, you take the neon-looking circle down to a lower floor. That's it. So yeah, that's not where you're supposed to go with the plot, but take the neon-looking circle down to a lower floor. That's how you save. That way you don't just fucking continue playing the game for an hour and not know when the goddamn save point's going to show up.
Got it.
I'm going to need reminders about that.
Oh, totally fine. Obviously, this is, I'm just saying it for people who are not on the Discord and not involved with our chats. So yeah, that's it for the week. Good luck with the fucking dungeon. If you like what you hear, and want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/RPGBookClub. If you just want to chat, we got a Twitter @RPGBookClub, email rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and of course a Discord, which has even more people than it did last time. I think we got 1 new person.
It's just Summer. She's not real. She's not real.
Yeah, she doesn't matter. Summer showed up, and I was like, who's this? And I was like, oh, right, my co-host's literal wife. So there's a link in the description for that. So once again, next week we're going to play all the way through the end of chapter whatever number it is. It doesn't matter what the number is.
Because it doesn't tell us the numbers in the game.
Exactly. We're going to play all the way through chapter entitled Babel Tower. So, which is not... Doesn't it feel weird saying Babel Tower instead of Tower of Babel?
Yeah.
It's fucked up. It's backward. It's not the way it should be.
But they probably only had 11 characters, so they couldn't fit that love.
Yeah. Anyway, so this has been RPG Book Club. I'm Michael Spiffle-Webben.
I am Sam Allman.
Oh, and I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Eli, you haven't said anything in a while. I was worried you died somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
I literally looked over at Discord to see if you were still connected.
Nope. Still here. Just very tired.
Yeah. I definitely feel you there.
Wait, hold on. This is a good apropos reference. You're tired? Okay, well then you can take a nap. But then fire the Bart missiles. Okay, I'm sorry. Bye.
Bye. Toodaloo.